For the first story, my stepdad recounts a memory he had as a child when his family relocated to a different part of Florida. Telling stories has been an oral tradition popular in my family for generations, and this is a particular story that I have heard many times. This story is reflective of a time when my stepfather was a small child and very afraid of the neighborhood bullies. The traditions of folklore sometimes incorporate fears we have that are often manifested and exaggerated in real life. The conflict of this story is resolved by his mother after the plot has been built up. This incorporates another popular folklore theme of conflict resolution.
So we drive from West Palm to Orlando, 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. Everything that we owned and us were in that one vehicle because we only had one vehicle. So anyways, we get to the house and we jumped out of the car and, drug all what little stuff we had into the house. And we did have 2 bikes and we had them on the back. I remember they were strapped to the back of the Country Squire. And so I said to my mom, I said, hey, I want to go out checking everything out. And she said, all right, well, don't go very far and don't stay long, whatever. So we lived on this thing called Wood Lake. So I went bebopping, little dweeb me. I was, like I said, I was 8. I wouldn't even think I was 10 years old then, but might have been 10. But so I jumped on my bike and I went around Wood Lake and I'm, cruising around thinking I was BMOC, big man on campus. And all of a sudden I see this herd of other bikes coming at me. And so I kind of stopped. And of course, it was flashbacks from the movie Grease. So these guys come hauling ass up to me and the kingpin, I'll never forget his name, Claire Bunch. And there was gravel where I was pulled over. He swings his bike sideways, he kind of locks up the wheels, gravel and stuff, jumping up. And he jumps off his bike and the other guys with him, I don't know, there were 3 or 4 of them on their bikes. They're all sitting there. Well, he was Johnny Badass. So he gets off his bike and he walks over to me and goes, what's your name? I'm Jeff Hittinger. And he was probably a couple of years older than I was, but he was the neighborhood badass. There's no 2 ways about it. So they're kind of pushing me around a little bit. And, I kind of started sweating bullets because I'm thinking, oh shit, these guys are going to pound my ass here, right? So it went on for a little bit. I don't know how long I was there, but next thing I know, I look up and here comes the Wally wagon. And it comes zipping up, and Attila, my mom, jumps out of the car. And she was such a badass, it was not even funny. My poor dad, I don't think he had any balls. My mom had the balls. So she walks up there, and that was the first time I'd ever heard the F-bomb. She comes, strutting up there, and she goes, what's going on here? And I was like, I don't know, these guys are I think they want to beat me up. And I remember Claire Bunch, he was standing there all bowed up and she looked at me and she goes, something like, what the fuck are you doing here? What do you want with my son? And it was so unbelievable. They all kind of melted down, even Claire, and that's an interesting name for a guy, Claire Bunch. But she goes something like, you touch my son and you'll wish the fuck you never did. And I was just I was like, what is all this language? What is this? But yeah, it was pretty funny. He was a wild guy. He was. Matter of fact, where we lived wasn't too far from 1792 in Orlando. And it wasn't too many years after that he was wild assing across the 1792. He got hit and killed on his bike. Yeah, 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 yeah.
The next story that my stepfather recounts is a memory from his early teenage years. This story involves his younger sister and his father, as he was the oldest of 4 children. The lesson of the story is sometimes it's better to act and not think. It also offers perspective to younger generations of how far we've come in time and how different it was to be a child 40 years ago. Folklore often contains stories that have lessons at the end of them in order to teach the generations to come. In addition, folklore is utilized to remember the past and to keep alive people, places, and traditions that we would otherwise forget.
We're in Orlando, and the kitchen floor was like, sheet vinyl, and my dumbass sister Lisa was cooking something, and she shouldn't have been cooking. She was, 2 or 3 years younger than I was, so she was cooking something in the oven, and the damn oven caught on fire, and she's screaming and telling me, "Go get dad, go get dad." And of course I was kind of laughing. I didn't really, I should have known better, but anyway, so I ran to the back, and my dad my dad was in the shower, taking a shower, right? And I can't remember where my mom was. So I said, "Dad," I said, the kitchen's on fire. Oh, it wasn't the kitchen, it was just the oven. But so he comes busting out of the damn shower, and it was funny because he was literally soaked. I remember it like it was yesterday, from head to toe, and he comes hauling out of their room in the back, and all the rooms were on one side, the kitchen was on the other side with another room. Anyways, so he just comes zipping down there like 300 miles an hour, and when he hit the sheet vinyl, he just, next thing you know, his feet go up in the air and he goes sliding across, bam, he whacks into the wall, and he jumps up, and he was a very religious guy, but I heard more GDs and son of a bees, and he grabbed a salt, like Morton salt, and he sprinkled it on the fire. Put salt on the fire. I didn't. But anyways, it went out, and then of course my sister was sitting there with her eyes about that wide open, and he says, "Don't touch a goddamn thing till I get out of the shower." So he went, stomping back, butt ass naked, layered in suds, and went back and got in the shower. And of course he came out and raised hell with my sister, and probably called me every name in the book for not putting the fire out. But hell, I didn't know what I was doing then. I was young, but
that's a good one.
Yeah, I remember those for sure.
The last story that my stepfather decided to recount takes place in his college days. He attended the University of North Alabama, where he played football on a scholarship for all 4 years. This story is full of various lessons that he learned the hard way. He has told my sister and myself this story on various occasions in order to remind and warn us about the consequences that actions can result in. The actions in this story started from a silly joke tradition and took a turn quickly. Jokes are a popular theme, but often can go wrong, just like the one in the story my stepfather recounts. Jokes gone wrong can often turn into difficult lessons learned.
So the next year, which was our senior year, we went out night hunting again, because we're going to, try to, shoot a deer and, barbecue the deer, and, they brought a bunch of other food out there too, but, it was one of those things you had to have, quote, the sacrificial lamb, so you could tell all the stories. Well, we went out that night, and we couldn't find any, and we couldn't find a deer. And, you know, again, it was cold and stuff. And God, I'll never forget, of course, we were in somebody's, he had a big car, I remember that. But there was three of us in the car. Of course, I had my dad's 257 Roberts with me, and driver and two other guys. So we were driving around, and there was a bunch of cows. Yeah, and so we should have went to prison over that, by the way. But yeah, so I shot the cow. All right. So we go running out in the field. Yeah, and the lights come on in the farmer's house. It was like there was a house up on top of a hill. I couldn't even tell. Maybe it was a half a mile, quarter of a mile from us. But as soon as that shot went off, the lights came on. So of course everybody goes, holy shit. So we ran out there to get this, what I thought was a small little cow. It took all four of us to drag this thing out. It was it was too big. and of course, I'll never forget the guy that was next to me. He ripped his back out that night, drug the thing out, somehow got it in the trunk, hauled ass out, and of course, you know, we dressed the cow and we had it at the party, and you know, all's well until we get word that the game wardens are after some football players at UNA that shot a cow out of this guy's thing. So how the story got around, I don't know. So it doesn't take long, and then there's some people implicated, and I was one of them, and another guy was one of them. So, and my parents were coming up for graduation, and I'll be damned, I didn't get my diploma. I did walk, and this thing drug on for months. And don't ask me how, but I did get my diploma finally. But I didn't get it there. And of course, you know, my mom and dad are going, where's your diploma at? And I'm like, shit, they mail it to us, I guess.